What's up YouTube and welcome back to In the Shop TV. While today's episode might seem like it's a little bit boring to you, it's just paint. To me it's a huge milestone because we end the part of deconstructing, cutting and grinding and making a mess of this frame so we start making it look good and actually building it into something again. Stick around. Before we get into it, I would love it if you could hit that subscribe button. I'm really trying to grow this channel. I need all the help I can get. If you don't want to subscribe, you can do me a huge favor just by hitting that like button because it lets YouTube know that we have good content and it promotes it and it helps the channel out a lot. So on the last episode, we took that old crusty rusty cross member out of that frame. The reason we did that is because as soon as we get this frame painted, we're gonna start looking for a gas tank to install there, and that cross member was in the way where the gas tank's gonna be. So guys, I spent a lot of time thinking about what I want to paint this frame with and what I want it to look like, and I really bounced back and forth between a lot of different options. The first thing I thought about doing was powder coating it, which makes a lot of sense because it's a super tough coating. It's really expensive to have this done, and just with everything that I have on here right now and everything that's in the way in my shop, it's just not feasible for me to take all this stuff out of here and move all the stuff that's on the frame now. My trailer is gone. I don't have a way to get it to a powder coater, so that's just not gonna be an option for me. So that brings us down to paint. So the two products I was initially looking at were Eastwood's Rust Encapsulator, and believe it or not, Rust-Oleum makes something called Farm and Implement Paint, which I heard is really a tough coating. Used to paint tractors and your buckets and stuff like that, and it holds up really good because it sits outside of the elements. I kind of settled on the Rust-Oleum Farm and Implement Paint, really just to be budget minded. But the other day, I was doing some work in the shop and I made a bracket for something not related to the vehicle. And I stumbled across this paint. Now this paint was a very unlikely choice for something I'd want to paint a frame in. But I figured, I would just try it on this one product. This is what it is. Rust-Oleum appliance epoxy, right? The picture of a refrigerator here. Come on, you're gonna paint your frame with refrigerator paint? Well, I had painted this bracket. I came back about 12 hours into the shop, into letting it dry, and I kind of ran my fingernail over it, and it kind of made an impression in it. So I said, well, this isn't so great. It's kind of soft. It's not gonna work out so well. So I just forgot about it. I got busy doing other stuff. Came back a day or two later and it touched it again and it was like steel. I mean, I couldn't even blemish it. I took a screwdriver and I hit it. It was rock solid. So I said, you know what? At like $8 a can for this stuff, I might be willing to try it on this frame. This is not a show car, guys. This is just gonna be something for me to drive around in and be a cruiser for me. Also, I'm a person who's not afraid to try new things because you know what? If I do this and it really works out awesome, now people that watch this YouTube video, that means that we found them an $8 product that they can use on their frame that's gonna work. So, I mean, that's how stuff happens, right? That's how we find out about stuff, is just by, trial and error. So I say, let's give it a shot. What it is actually is an epoxy paint. I know, epoxy paint's supposed to be 2 parts, but there is epoxy paints that are 1 part, which is what this is. And how it works is they'll use some kind of catalyst that's in the environment, be it UV or moisture, to initiate the hardening process of the epoxy. So I believe this is a moisture catalyst product where the moisture in the air will harden it. We're only doing the back half today because we still have the cab in place, and I need to put the rear end in before I take the cab off. I know that sounds weird, but it's just a lot easier for me to take it off because I have to move the frame around the shop. But we've got to take a bunch of stuff off. We have our link arms. You can kind of see them right there by the 4-link bracket. And our panhard bar is up there. We gotta get that stuff off and remove it so we can have access to all the areas that need to be painted. Then once that's done, we can get our rear end in, we can get a fuel tank in, all that stuff. Once the rear end's in and the car is sitting on its own weight finally, then it's easier for me to take the cab off and we can do the front half of the frame. So here at the back half of the frame, this is where the fuel tank's gonna go. Somebody had actually already painted this with, I think, like a textured bed coating or something like that. It's not that textured. Over the years, it kind of wore down, it's smooth. But it did a really good job of protecting the frame from rust. Case in point, you move over here, they were removed that leaf spring bracket the other day, and you can see where they did not paint it. There's a lot of rust developing underneath it. It's just surface rust, is no big deal. But just to prove a point, this did work really well in preventing the rust. As far as prep, I think I'm gonna wire wheel it, and I don't know if it's gonna take off that coating or not. If it leaves some of that rougher coating on there, this is a gloss paint, so it's gonna look really shitty because it's gonna show every little bump and ripple and everything. Again, not a show car, I don't care. I'm really going, more for function here. I like the idea of the gloss paint because the frame's gonna be able to keep cleaner that way. We're not gonna go crazy with prep on this, guys. This is gonna be basically like, a 3-step process. We're gonna grind it with the wheel, we're gonna clean it off with some acetone, blow it with the gun, and start painting. That's it. All right, that's a lot of info. Let's get to work. So from cutting off that cross member, we've got a big mess here on the floor that I want to get cleaned up first. Also, we're on 2 jack stands right now, kind of right under where our 4-link brackets are. I want to paint up to here, so I'm just going to jack the frame up a hair, move the jack stands forward just a little bit so that every area that we need to paint is going to be exposed. Push broom restraint only work better when you actually push with it, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do in tight spaces. That's a lot better. We're gonna go ahead and wire wheel this. It's gonna make a whole bunch more mess on the floor, and we'll have to clean that up again too, but I just don't wanna walk through it and blow dust all over the place. Yes, our wheels are holding pretty good. Go ahead and get our link bars off now. Last but not least, got our can hard bar. Okay, so we're stripped of all our parts, but I do have some numbers here that I'm going to go ahead and video just for my own reference. These are the length of my link bars to get us kind of in terms where we need to be with wheelbase and also pinion angle. Those will get erased as soon as we start grinding on it, but at least I'll have this video to reference when I want to start putting everything back together. So I'm going to use this wheel on my grinder. It might be a little bit overkill, but it's a nice compact size, and it'll, it's kind of the width of the frame rails themselves, and it'll fit into the inside of the frame nicely. All right, here we go. So yeah, it really took that coating off in short order, and it got it down to bare metal really quick. You can see the frame's a bit pitted. There's no rust through. It's just kind of like surface rust that pitted that once upon a time. Looked like they got most of it off when they painted it, which is really good. So the inside of the frame here is really more the area that I was concerned about. This wasn't really in bad shape. I'm just trying to get the loose stuff off. But in here you can see there's some rust and some scale, and where we had that other cross member. I'm gonna try to get those rough areas just smoothed out. You know, it's funny, but this cross member is the newest piece that I installed, that I welded in. It's brand new metal, and it actually has the most rust on it of anything on this frame that's, you know, nearly 70 years old. So I think that actually cleaned up pretty well. Is it perfect? No. Is it down to bare shiny metal all over? No. In some places it is, and on the original frame where that coating was, it's not down. We just got a lot of that surface crap off, all the loose stuff, and any chunks of rust, which really wasn't many, just a little bit of surface rust, that's all gone. I just want to get a decent surface that's not got flaky crap on it or problem areas that need to be addressed before I start painting it up. The next thing I want to do is get out the air hose, blow all this dust off. It's really dusty in here. I'm going to let it settle for a little bit. Sweep up the floor again so there's not a bunch of dust on there, and we'll get a tarp down. And I'm going to wipe everything down with acetone, and then we'll start painting. So just so you guys get an idea of how much came off, I mean, I just started sweeping up again, and look at all that crap. And that was on a clean floor. So I got a tarp down that fits the back half of this frame rather nicely, actually. All right, so I have some mineral spirits here. I thought I had acetone, but I don't, but this will be just fine to wipe everything down with. All right, so I gave that a really thorough wiping down with the mineral spirits, and then I went back over it and just blew it one more time with the air gun, just to make sure in case there's any residual particles or if there's any wetness left over from the spirits that I need to dry. And guys, I think we're about ready to start spraying. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get on my back, get underneath, and just kind of spray the undersides of those frame rails first. I don't think I'm gonna film me doing the underside just because it's gonna be kind of difficult being underneath on my back with the camera and the spray paint and everything else. I'll be right back. All right, so I did 2 coats on the bottom. I let one flash for 25 minutes before I hit it with the second coat. The second most inconvenient part, I guess, we're gonna go on the insides now and try to get the insides of the frame rail and then up around here on the insides. Even with a mask on, it is fucking fuming in here, so I'm gonna let this chill out. I'm gonna come back tomorrow, we'll check it out, let everything dry, and we'll see how we did. All right, so what do you guys think? I think it came out pretty decent, actually. I'm really happy with how it flowed out. It just laid down really nice and smooth, which is a pretty good thing. Especially right here, you can see where it's all, you know, pitted on the old part of the frame. It kind of concealed a little bit of that pitting. Over here on this newer metal, it's really, really smooth and slick and looks really good. There's some of that pitting again, you can see. Here's the smooth metal again. I don't know, I like it a lot. What do you guys think? Leave it in the comments. Do you like how it looks? You more of a fan of the satin black or the original look, or do you like this kind of a gloss coat here? I'll tell you guys what though, when you if you ever work with this stuff, you really need to use a respirator because it is nasty, nasty stuff, and it'll get you really sick if you don't have some protection on. All right, guys, so it's the next day. It flowed out super nice and smooth. I don't know if you guys can see that, but there's like no orange peel. It's just nice and slick. Of course, it's more pitted down here where the metal had that old finish on it, where it was like an aggregate or a bed liner or something. Sort of sanding that down to get it smooth. We're just gonna leave it how it is, but I'm fine with that. I'm not really going for showroom finish on that. But over here where we have new metal, you can just really see like, man, that really flowed out really, really nice. Okay, so it's super smooth and dry and got a nice feel to it to the touch. But if I do dig my nail into it, push really hard, I feel like it's still kind of pliable a little bit. Like I can get my nail into there if I really dig on it. So like I said earlier, this stuff, it really shines when you let it set up for a couple of days. This is only 24 hours. And I would not call this cured by any means yet, even though it is beautiful and dry and smooth to the touch. So let's give this a few more days. Really, a week is what it needs. Another really cool thing that I forgot to mention about this is being that it is an epoxy product, you do not need to use a primer on this. You can go straight to metal with it and it just clings like so well. It's really sticky and tacky and it holds on for dear life. So that just saves you additional time, saves additional money, not having to buy another product and put it on and the fumes, and it's just, I really appreciate saving that additional time. All right, guys, it is day 4 of letting this cure. Come back to the same spot on a thin bracket. No, I can't indent it with my nail anymore. So it's definitely hardened up a lot. I like to give this a week to fully cure. So for the sake of the video, I try to get a video out every Friday, guys, and this needs to cure a full week. So I'm not gonna start banging on it with a hammer to see if it chips. I kind of wanted to be able to do that for the video just to prove to you guys how tough this coating is, but you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It is really, really strong and it cures really hard. That's gonna do it for this one, guys. Rust-Oleum Appliance Epoxy blew my mind, man. It's a really tough coating for $8. You really can't go wrong. I'm not saying it replaces powder coat, but if you're on a budget and you want a long-lasting protective coating on your frame, check this stuff out. Guys, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I can use all the help I can get growing this channel, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.